the seasonal patterns of bass, and we're going to just use Alabama because everywhere is different. But in Alabama, the seasonal patterns for bass are the bass typically spawn from late January to the middle of April. They'll come up in different waves. There may be one section of the lake that the fish spawn on 3 or 4 warm days in February, and then the other end of the lake, the fish there'll still be some spawning fish into April, sometimes as late as May. But as a rule, most of the spawn around in Alabama is March and April, and after that, the shad will spawn, usually during the end or right at the end of the bass spawn. The shad will come up and they'll start spawning on the banks. Well, when they do that, the bass come in and the bass roam the banks eating those schooling shad in the morning. When the shad are spawning, the shad spawn at night, so the bass will feed on them all night up until about the first hour of the morning, and that'll go on for about 2 or 3 weeks. And after that's over, then the bass's main forage turns to bluegill, and the bass will typically be wherever the bluegill are. The bluegill will be in 3 to 5 feet of water until it gets in the mid 80s, and then they'll be in 10 to 12 foot of water, and then all the way up until the 90 degrees in the summer. And early summer and late summer, the bluegill will go 25 or 30 feet deep, and so will the bass. The bass are there to eat them. And then in the fall, when it starts to cool off, the main forage for the bass will turn back to being shad, because the shad that have been scattered all out in the lake through the heat of the summer and that were down in the 60 and 70 feet of water, those shad will start making their way back up the creeks in the fall, and then you'll start back targeting the fish all throughout the fall until winter hits in that 3 to 5 feet of water up in the creeks.
All right, sounds good.